What's up, everybody? I'm super excited. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? How is everyone doing tonight? I'm super excited for this evening. Yes, indeed. I'm so excited. So excited. How's everyone doing? Hi, Shonda's Edibles. How are you? Hi, Sometime Vegans. Hi, how are you? Hi, Marilyn Maven. Hi, how are you? Hi. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm super excited for tonight. How is everyone doing? Making sure the light is good. Hi. How is everyone doing tonight? Happy Black History Month. Veganized. How's everyone doing tonight? How is everyone doing tonight? I'm super excited for this evening. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. This is amazing. Hi, Kiana. Yes, indeed. I'm super excited for this evening. This is going to be a good one. Bryant Terry, he is an activist, a food activist. He's an author. He's the chief and resident at the Museum of African Diaspora. I always say that name wrong. In San Francisco. This is going to be a really informative show. When you look up Black vegan history, his name is all up and through there for all the things that he's done in this space. And I'm super excited that he took time out to want to speak to me. So thank you for everyone who is coming in early. This is going to be interesting and hopefully informative. Why do I feel like, yeah. So I'm super excited for tonight. It's going to be a good show. How's everyone doing tonight? I hope everyone can hear me well. Hi, Sabik. Hi, thank you everyone who is coming in. Bryant Terry is amazing. Yes, greetings. But yes, indeed. I'm super excited about this evening. This is going to be a good time. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sabik. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. Trying to get it together. But yes. Yes. Thank you to everyone who is coming in early. Thank you who are, supporting VeganPopEats. I'm super excited. I love doing these IG lives. I feel like they're a little bit more up and close and personal. And I hope that people, get something from it as far as information and also motivation and inspiration to continue on their journey on the green side. You have a lot of good stuff coming up for VeganPopEats. I should be starting to film the actual show back in when March happens, so yeah, we got some good things trying to get it on that next level. So yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes. Hi, Hedgie Socks. Thank you for coming in. Thank you so much for coming in. But yes, I'm super excited for this opportunity to speak with him. How's everyone doing tonight? We're in New York and it is still a little chilly. The streets are a little bit cleaner, but I hope that we're done with snow. I'm ready for a little bit warmer weather to come through. I've been doing 60 days raw. I'm on day 8. I'm super excited about it because I knew that my body needs to be cleansed. So I decided to do 60 days raw. So that's going really well. I feel a lot of energy. Yes, hop in the kitchen. I wish I was nearby. But when I'm on 60 days raw, so I can't be nearby nothing. But yeah. But I'm doing good this week. I'm doing good. But yeah, so I'm doing 60 days raw and been in the gym getting it together because this spring and summer they're not going to catch me sleeping. No ma'am. No ma'am. And I like the way I feel when I'm eating raw. I just feel lighter and I feel like my mind is a little bit clearer. Yeah, so yeah. Not yet, Sabik. It's only been 8 days. But yeah, I definitely feel a difference with me, eating raw. Yeah, I definitely feel a difference. And my mind is a little bit clearer. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Because last time I only did 25 days. Only 25. And then the food was calling me, but I promised to commit myself to 60 days. So, and I've been getting a little help from the Cleanse Theory Kitchen. That's on 83 Henry Street. If you're in New York, you need to go down there because her food is phenomenal. The poke bowl, chef's kiss, chef's kiss. But yeah. So we are, this time around, I'm able to not just have to cook for myself. I got my CMOS situation happening. So yeah, I'm really committed to it because, for those people who don't know, I'm on a 6-month, transformation. And, after 6 months, I'm going to decide if I'm going to still live in New York. But I think that I think that my journey is ending here in New York because I really want to explore what else is out there. I've been in New York for 7 years and this is where VeganPopEats was born. But I feel that VeganPopEats can mature in a different space. The possibility is LA or Miami or Atlanta. I haven't decided yet. I don't know yet. I'm thinking Miami, LA, or Atlanta. Those are the 3, choices. I love Atlanta. Atlanta has been so good to me. I have some of my great friends there. Yes, Mexico. I've heard great things about the vegan space in Mexico. Yes. And if you go, I would come and visit because I'm really about that life. And I'm also thinking about the UK. But I think I would just visit the UK. Hi, Paige. How are you? I think I would just visit the UK and see if I can, get work and stuff out there. But I think my home base may be Atlanta or Miami. So we will see. Oh, yes. I've always wanted to go to Tulum. So yes, go. But yeah, I'm really looking for that. Hi, Mask by Loretta. Thank you so much for coming in. But yeah, I'm looking for, a place that has, thank you. I'm on day 8 of raw. So yes, thank you so much. But yeah, I'm looking for, just what the other vegan spaces are like. Like New York's vegan space is cool, but for the most part, it's all about eating. And I know that the vegan space is more about, it's a full lifestyle because we have cannabis, we have, there's spas, it's just a full lifestyle. It's a full lifestyle. Like we have fashion, we have all these different things. And, New York you know, has a lot of great eating spaces. But, you know, when I visited Miami and I took part in the vegan community out there, it just, you know, it just changed my mind it changed the whole perspective of what's really going on. And, you know, the goal is for Vegan Pop Eats to be global. Like, I want to, you know, showcase how it's popping. Bryant Terry is here. Hi, Miss Vixen. How are you? You just have to request to come in, Bryant, and I will be able to let you in. Thank you so much. I'm super excited about this. Super excited about this. Let's see. Yeah, you have to request to come into the live, and then I'll be able to bring you in. I will be able to bring you in. So yes. But yeah, so I'm really wanting, I'll know when I get back from LA in April, you know, what the deciding factor will be. And then I'm going to act on it. So I'm super excited about, you know, being in a space where there's other like-minded individuals and, you know, the support system to be able to grow Vegan Pop Eats is very important to me. So yes, let me see. Yes. So we're just waiting for him to request to come in. We're just waiting for him to request to come in, and then we will be getting started. Yes, indeed. So yeah, thank you to everyone who is coming in and coming in on time. There he is. So we are just waiting for him to come in. Does that work? That should work.
Hey,
Hi!
how are
Hi, how
you?
are you? Oh, did you just leave? Oh, he left. Okay, hold on. Okay, you should be coming in. Hi, Jasmine. Hi. Hi to everyone. Hi. Oh, what we're doing? We're playing tag. Okay. Okay, here we go. Bryant accepting. It's not letting me be great. Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can't see.
You can't see me?
I can't see myself.
Okay, did you? So
There-
at the bottom,
It's still the send request cancel thing. I'm trying to like close it.
okay. All right. What are we doing? Hi to everyone who is coming in. Hi, 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 hi. Hi to everyone who is coming in. We're trying to get, there's my niece. Hey, Diamond. Okay. So we're just waiting for him to come in. There's my niece showing up. Hey, Diamond. But yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we're just waiting to see what's going on. This should be a good time. Hi, how are you? Hi to everyone who is joining the chat, the IG live. Thank you so much. I'm super excited for this. Hi, Torsten. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone coming in. We're just waiting for him to come back on and request to come into this space. I hope everyone is good, and I hope everyone is, excited for this conversation. I'm super excited to speak with him because what I was saying prior is that when you look up, oh, thank you. Thank you, Chef. Thank you. Thank you, One Dope Mama. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for Kate Mata. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Yes, indeed. Hi. How's everyone doing? We're just waiting for him to be able to come in. I don't know what happened. So, yes. Hi, McGee. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in. Hi, Nicole. Yes, indeed. So I'm super excited to speak to him because, it is Black History Month. There he is. Okay, we're doing this one more time. Did it go in? What's going on?
Okay, there it is.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, what's happening? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so grateful that you took time out to be on Vegan Pop Eats live. This is, I'm speechless because I just think that you're just so dope. And to meet you in person, I was just like, I'm going to just, stalk his page until he decides that I am worthy.
Look, after such hospitality, just the amazing hospitality you showed me when I was in New York, how could I say no? How could I say
Oh,
no?
you could have said no. You could have said no. But I
True,
thank
true.
everyone who is coming in. This is a treat. For those of you who do not know who I am Angela Yvonne. I am the host of Vegan Pop Eats, where we want to change the perception of plant-based living through conversations, cuisine, and conscious living. And we just want to show you how dope it is over here on the green side. We have Chef Bryant Terry here. And those of you who do not know who he is, I'm going to go ahead and read his stats. He is a food justice activist. He is a James Beard Foundation Leadership Award recipient. He is an author. He is the chef in residence at the Museum of the African Diaspora. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm just super excited to have a conversation with you. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You see, I had to wear my green to be on
Yes.
brand, to be in
Yes, we're on the
alignment.
same
So,
page.
for
Same
sure.
page. But I just want to I always start the conversation with, how did you, come onto the journey, but because it is Black History Month, I want to know, what was your journey like crossing over to the green side, and what does being a Black vegan mean to you?
What was my journey like? Well, I have to take it back to when I was in high school, and that was the first moment that I had an awareness about the violent way in which animals are treated in our industrial farming system. And that was the entree for me because I think for a lot of people, like a lot of people, I was under the illusion that, animals just cows are running around in the field happily and they just go to sleep and then they wake up on our plate, or we they wind up on our plates. But hearing the hip hop song Beef by the Group
Yeah.
Boogie Down Productions really just awoken me to the violence in our food system, the way the animals are treated, and the impact on the environment, on human health. And it was one of those things that, once I took that pill, I couldn't look back. And so it was really a powerful catalyst for me living in alignment with my values and, just doing the work that I do today, that's the seed of it. I would say that in terms of me being a food justice activist, the seed of that was then. And it's interesting because I think, like many vegans, or at least many of the vegans that I know, upon first kind of moving from a standard American diet into both a vegan diet and an overall vegan politic and lifestyle, I was very overzealous. Whatever your stereotypes of the most dogmatic, judgmental, self righteous vegan might be, that's who I was. And I was just a menace, mostly to my parents. And
Really?
oh yeah, it is some. I apologize to them often for the way that I was showing up in my younger years. But the thing is, as an educator, I'm glad that I went through that period, because what it taught me is that the least effective way of inviting people into the conversation, or you know inviting people to rethink their habits and attitudes and politics regarding food, is by yelling at them and screaming at them and telling them they're going to go to hell because they're not a vegan, even though you just became a vegan last week. So I think
Right.
it's important, just compassion. We
Right.
talk about compassion for the animals. I think it's important for us to be compassionate towards each other and recognize that people are on their journeys. We need to kind of meet them where they are and invite them in and not call them out. But I think there's also a level of self-compassion that we need to
Yeah.
have, because I think there are times, in my own journey where I've been very judgmental and hard on myself for moments that I might go astray. I remember when I was in college and I studied abroad in France, and this was the late 90s, and it was really challenging being a strict vegan in France at that time. Besides the fact that I was living with a host family and they were giving me non-vegan, you know, food items. And so um, trying to navigate that reality while also trying to maintain my own ethics and my own like approach to eating was really challenging. And I think there are moments where I was really hard on myself. And it just reminds me that we need to have self-compassion on this journey as well.
So let's talk about you today, because this is Black History Month. And when I was doing research, um, and maybe I wasn't researching hard enough, but certain ones pop up when they are talking about talking about the vegan journey, Black history, and things of that nature. And when I researched, your name popped up all through there. And I was just, amazed at your journey. But how does it feel to be in the history books for what you have done for veganism? And what are some of the things that are important that people don't talk about in our space?
I think I'm glad that I have inspired so many people. I'm glad that I have made a mark on history. And I think the thing that I would like people to talk more about is the thread of Black food and health activism throughout the 20th century that inspired my work. I'm very
Right.
clear that everything that I do is standing on the shoulders of ancestors who came before me, whether it's my grandparents who taught me about the seed to table cycle, um, and the importance of making food from scratch and feeding people in our community, or people like the Seventh Day Adventists in our community who first introduced the idea of veganism to me, or then learning about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of the Nation of
Yes.
Islam and his health ministry with his 2-volume work, How to Eat to Live, or then, coming into contact with Rastafarians and learning about, the ITAL diet and its,
Yeah.
tenets of being like devoid of chemicals and processed foods and obviously animal products. The rapper KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions and, them waxing poetic about these issues. The comedian and social justice Dick Gregory and his book
Yes.
Cooking with Mother Nature and his food and health activism. I think so often when in the popular imagination, historically, when we've talked about veganism or plant-based eating, many people imagine, in the past, upper middle class white suburbanites, more recently, young white hipsters living in gentrified urban centers. And these are two realities that, have been true, but it erases this history of Black people who have been thinking about and active around food issues and who've had a very clear and pointed politics around, veganism. And
Right.
so I just think that these histories need to be uplifted. We need to understand that as much as people like to talk about vegan being, eating vegan being a white people's thing, it's like, no, we claim to these histories. It's important for me to always uplift these ancestors who've inspired my work and who really, um, you know, I give thanks to for opening my eyes up and for giving me the bravery to start this journey. And I always draw on their energy and the work that they did so that I can continue this work.
So what do you think that we are doing right, and what do you think that we are doing wrong in this space, other than not acknowledging the ancestors before us? Because during this journey of Black history, because I'm like you, my main goal is to make sure that whenever I see my ancestors again, I don't want them to say that I was just down here popping gum. So I'm just like, wanting to know more about our history, because it's important for us to know our past in order for us to know what our future is going to look like. So what are some of the things that you feel that we are doing right? And other than talking about our ancestors, what are some of the other things that we need to um, currently make an importance in this Black vegan space?
I think one of the things that we're doing is, well, I'll start with what I think we should be doing. I won't talk about it in terms of being right or wrong, but what I'd like to see more um, Black folks who are invested in um, the idea, the politics, the practices of veganism. I'd like us to move beyond just um, and not that everyone is like this, but to be clear, I've seen a lot of, and just look, we're talking about Black vegans, but I feel like this is something that I've seen across the board with people who have this very narrow focus on veganism. And what I'd like to see people do is move beyond just their own kind of personal tastes and desires and consumption habits and patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really thinking about food justice, thinking beyond just what we're eating, but thinking about, and we could talk about justice in many ways. We could talk about justice for small to mid-sized farmers in rural
Right.
areas who are like struggling to survive. We could talk about, indigenous folks and just like people trying to hold on to their like ancestral lands. But when the focus of my work over the past 2 decades has been really illuminating the reality that so many people in historically marginalized Black and brown communities across this country are living with, where they have very little access to healthy, fresh, affordable, and culturally appropriate food. And so I think that having done this work for 2 decades, it's exciting to see more people who are, eating plant-based foods. It's exciting to see people kind of spending their money in alignment with their dollars and going to the farmers market to, buy food locally and support small farmers, or, buying fair trade or organic food products. But the thing is, when you think about the systemic problems of our food system, this consumer-based approach isn't going to fix our broken food system, and it certainly isn't going to ensure that the people who've been living on the margins of society are going to have access to the human right of nutrient-rich, healthy, fresh, affordable, and culturally appropriate food, and clean water and clean air. These are structural issues that we need to address. So I want to encourage people to think beyond oneself and think about, and to be clear, yes, every dollar that we spend is a vote for the type of food system that we want to see. When you spend your dollars at the farmer's market, typically those farmers are getting 90 cents on every dollar that you spend. Whereas when you go to the corporate owned supermarkets, as Malcolm X once said, at the end of the day, that man takes that bag of money back to his community. And
Yeah.
so it makes a difference when we're spending our money locally. Economists call it the multiplier effect, when ideally the money will continue to circulate in local communities before and going out. And we know so often in communities, as soon as people get their money, it's going out because they're spending it at these multinational corporations who might have locations in our communities, but they're not necessarily invested in the infrastructure and the thriving of our communities. They're invested in increasing the profits for their shareholders. So we need to challenge a food system that's largely controlled by five multinational food corporations that control over half of our food system. This is a problem. This is a problem with capitalism. And what that means is that these corporations have very little stake in addressing environmental issues, in
Right.
addressing labor issues, and certainly they don't have any stake in addressing animal welfare. So I want us all to think about ourselves as activists beyond just, I can get me, whatever Boca Burger or Impossible Burger or whatever kind of like vegan crap they market at these health food stores, and think about how we can be community members and how we can ensure that these long-standing efforts in historically marginalized communities to create food security, to create food justice, that they can continue to thrive and that they can be the ones owning and driving the solutions to the problems in these communities. How can we see ourselves as citizens who are, elected, putting elected officials in office who are going to work in the best interests of everyday eaters like you and me, and not big ag, and not giving the subsidies to these wealthy corporations, but actually investing money in small to mid-sized farmers, investing money in communities, and ensuring that everyone has access to healthy, fresh, affordable food. But here's the other thing. I think it's important that we recognize that whatever issue around food we're focusing on, we can't focus on food in a vacuum. And I always keep coming
Right.
back to this idea that, we need to think about, ensuring that we're all taken care of, because there is no disconnection. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, passed away recently, and he talks about this idea of interbeing or interconnection, where we need to understand that we're all a part of each other. There is no separation, and everything, he talks about, like, even just being mindful when we're eating a peach. If we're really mindful about the interconnection of all beings, we understand that we're not just eating this peach, we're eating the soil from which it came, we're eating the water that's, helped it to grow, the sunlight. And so this reality of interconnection, I would hope, would encourage us all to think about how we can address these systemic issues, because they don't just affect the people. On the surface, it may seem like, oh, it's something affecting those folks over there, but it affects us all. Yeah, you
Yeah.
might have so let me just say this. When we focus on food in a vacuum, what we don't recognize is that in the communities that I've been, working to kind of illuminate the problems around food apartheid, um, lack of access to healthy, fresh, affordable food is typically simply one indicator of material deprivation in these communities. Most communities where you could find a gun quicker than you could find an organic apple, these are the same communities that have segregated, underfunded public schools. These are the same communities that have crumbling infrastructure. These are the same communities that have that are suffering from environmental racism, where industries are either in the communities or adjacent to them, and they're poisoning the air and the water and the soil. These are the same communities that have very few jobs, and the ones that are available simply don't pay a living wage, which then pushes people to work 1, 2, 3 more jobs, which leaves them less time to spend with their family, less time to make home cooked meals and take care of themselves. These are the same communities that have very little safe green space. So how are you going to tell people you need to be active and doing things to maintain your health and well-being when you don't have available safe green space? How are you going to tell people you need to eat more healthfully when there aren't options for eating healthfully in these communities? So I say all that to say, yes, focus on yourself, but then let's focus on like the bigger picture of food, but let's not get so siloed and so narrowly focused on the food issues that we don't understand the range of structural inequalities that we need to address to make sure that everyone has just like a healthy and wholesome life, and not having to deal with these kind of like various forms of violence every single day. It's slow violence. What is his name? I actually am looking on my bookshelf. I think it's in the house, but there's this professor at Princeton, and he has this book, Slow Violence of the Poor. And he talks about like these various forms of violence that may not be as dramatic as a bomb dropping on a city, or, whatever kind of disruptions we might see as like immediately recognized as violence. All the things that I talked about are slow forms of violence that I think it's incumbent upon us to address them and, determine how we can create a different narrative.
But how, in a perfect world, that sounds amazing. But I mean, you're from New York.
Um,
You go
I'm
on certain parts of
I'm
Flatbush or
I'm from
things of that
Memphis.
nature. I
I'm
remember when I
from
first moved into the neighborhood, our deli was just a regular deli. But the minute that they started, ushering in, the right type of people, I can go to that deli now and get everything that I need that I would have to go to Whole Foods for. So how do we I guess approach the neighborhoods when they're zoning and they're, thinking that this is, a great neighborhood to build upon? How do we make them accountable for that? You know what I'm saying?
When you say them, to whom are you referring?
Whoever is deciding which neighborhood deserves, that Brooklyn Natural Deli, or that, Sprouts, or whatever the case may be. How do you, I guess, approach the people whenever they're saying that, okay, this neighborhood looks like it's going to be a jumping neighborhood. Let's go ahead and make sure that whoever's living in this neighborhood has the right type of food. Versus if you go to Brownville, if you go there, they might have one or two types of, things that you can eat, but nobody is really, focusing on that, because it's like no man's land.
I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it's a really complicated question and a very complicated answer to that, because I experienced it myself. I'm not from New York. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, actually. But I did live in Brooklyn for about a decade. And I remember clearly the shift in is it Key Foods? I think it might be Key Foods in the neighborhood I lived in, the kind of Clinton Hill, Bed-Stuy neighborhood. I lived on Fulton and St. James Place, where the street that Biggie grew up on. And I remember when I came into that neighborhood and that Key Foods or whatever, it just had like whatever, just the standard stuff that you find in any kind of, working class Black neighborhood. And over the years, I saw the products in that store shift. But I mean, the products shifted because the demographic of the neighborhood shifted, and then there were different demands for different foods. And the thing is, like, I was a part of that too. I'm not going to even like separate myself from being a wave of people who had different tastes and desires and wanted to see different things. So I would like ask them, is it possible for you to get some, tempeh in here? Or can you get like, whatever products that I might be, easily access if are in the village, but we're much more challenging there. And I it's interesting because we did use the chain supermarkets in New York City as a way to educate the young people in the program I started, Be Healthy, about food apartheid, because many of them lived in the outer boroughs in Queens and Brooklyn and Bronx, and then there would be Met Foods, right? And they were very familiar with it. So we would visit the Met Foods and like, whatever, Flatbush, and then it would be, very few fresh food items. The one that they had were rotting, and they just wouldn't be anything that you and I would want to purchase. And then there were a lot of canned foods and processed and packaged foods. Well, we would then go to the Met Foods over in Soho, and we would see like a dozen different olive oils, and we would see, fresh produce, organic produce for as far as the eye could see. And so I think for me, every community deserves a full service supermarket, right? I'm like, look, even if you have like a community garden or urban farm, or you're growing food in whatever way in a city, you like, I don't know if you're going to be like making your own olive oil. And so just like basic staples should be afforded to every community, because we know that the corner stores, typically the same items that you find in a conventional supermarket, they sell them for like twice the price, right? And so, people are having to deal with all these issues. But let me just say this. I remember when the Obamas came into the White House, and Michelle Obama was creating all these initiatives around like, more physical activity among young people, talking about food issues, talking about, just health and well-being. And I was so excited that we had these initiatives and this conversation coming from the White House, right? But that whole movement took a dark turn when they announced that they wanted to start partnering with Walmart as a way to somehow address food insecurity. And I think for me, we can't depend on corporations to create food security, right? Because at the end of the day, their main goal is
It's
just
about the dollar.
it's about increasing profits for their
Yeah.
shareholders. That's it. And so, even with the kind of growth in vegan products that we see, packaged products, processed products, like, sure, there's a market demand for it, but they don't care about public health. They don't really
Yeah.
care if we're living or dying. They care about making money. And so I say all that to say is, I think it's important for us to invest in community-based efforts, because you know what? They're co-ops, they're food co-ops, they're Black run and created food co-ops where they're sourcing from different wholesalers. They're getting
Yeah.
ingredients that the community wants to see. They're selling them at the fair price. They're ensuring that the members of the community who are members of the co-ops are part of the ownership structure. That's what we need to be thinking about, because honestly, I've talked about the 3 C's of change over the past couple decades, right?
Right.
Since I've been doing this work and talking about the importance of, yeah, it's important that we have a personal transformation and that we reject industrialized food in our standard American diet, and make those consumer spending choices that are in alignment with our values, right? But then we need to think about being community members and citizens, and then we need to think about how we can be good citizens, right? But lately, especially over the past 2 years, in the face of the inept response that the government has had to this whole public health crisis, in response to capitalism being capitalism and just further concentrating wealth in the hands of the of very few people compared to the masses of people over the past couple of years, it's just given me very little faith. And not just me, a lot of people are having
Yeah.
less and less faith in these institutions. And so I'm adding a fourth C. And that fourth C is creating institutions and solutions outside of capitalism. We need to be thinking about how we can create systems outside of this current economic system that will ensure our safety, that will ensure our food security, that will ensure our generational wealth, that will ensure that we have land. All these things. We can't continue to depend on these systems that were designed to exploit us. We have to think about systems that are going to care for us. And I think that more of us need to be looking at some of these best practices, these models of alternative economies, of alternative food systems, and really thinking about how we can invest in those for our overall sustainability.
But with that being an alternative, history shows that whenever you buck the system, they find a way to destroy whatever you're trying to accomplish, whether it's if you decide that you want to live off the grid and decide to build your own town away from the shenanigans of corporations and things of that nature. So how do you think that would be even possible?
What do we have
Because
to
it sounds
lose?
good in
What do we
theory. It
have to
sounds good in
lose?
theory.
What do we have to lose? We're being exploited and marginalized and in prison and beaten and killed already. What do we have to
Right.
lose? Nothing but our chains.
Right.
And it's happening. It's not like this is some pie in the sky theoretical approach. There are models that are currently happening. And are they
Oh yeah.
perfect? Do they have it all figured out? No. People are in process. Communities are in process in figuring out how to create these alternative models. But I think we just have to be fearless about stepping outside of this construct and doing things that we know will be beneficial to us, because we know that these systems that currently exist aren't. They're killing us. They're killing the planet. These extractive systems have been destroying the earth. They're destroying human health. They're destroying the minds of our children. We need to, it's like, in my mind, we have no choice
Yeah.
if we want to continue to survive. And so,
And that's what
yeah,
that's one of the
it's scary. Sure. Yeah, I know a lot
that's
of
one of
people
the
scared.
things I don't understand, because they don't want us to know that we can heal ourselves through plants, because plants are medicinal. They don't want us to have this knowledge, but at the same time, we are like walking zombies because we are comfortable with whatever is being fed to us, because we are scared of not being comfortable, anymore.
I
And
mean, But I just don't want to. I just want to continue emphasizing those who have shown bravery
Right.
in creating these models and really stepping out. And I think about, the D. Peace Oakland Co-op here in Oakland, where you have like these young, brilliant radicals who are creating this food co-op that's owned and driven by young Black and brown folks in the community. I think about like Project Jackson in Jackson, Mississippi, where they're playing with these alternative economic models. They're thinking about like, reclaiming land. They're thinking about like pushing back against food apartheid through, different means of ownership and self-driven models of feeding people. And so I think that the most important thing is that we do our due diligence, we research some of the best practices and the organizations who are trying to figure this out, and then we build community with them so that we can figure it out together.
Right. So your legacy is already vibrant, but what in your mind you want Bryant Terry's legacy to actually be? Because you've done so many amazing things. At the end of the day, when you think, 30 years, 40 years from today, what do you want people to say about your legacy?
Well, thank you. And I agree. I have done an amazing job paying what is Alice Walker says, you know, paying for the privilege of being on the earth at this moment. And for me, that's just, if I've affected one person, I'm not saying that, like a place of arrogance. For me, my measure of success has always been if I can affect one person, I'm good, because I think about just the individuals that affected me, all the people I named earlier. And I'm like, if I can have that impact on one single person, who knows what they'll go on to do? Who knows what they'll create? Who knows how they'll inspire others? And I know that I've impacted, hundreds and thousands of people. So I was actually having a conversation with my wife the other night, and, it just hit me that if I just gave it all up, if I just stopped right now and just like move to our place in the woods, I'd be good. I wouldn't have any regrets and I'd be happy. But in terms of my legacy, I think first and foremost, I want my legacy to be a great father and husband. I want my family to remember me as being a caring and loving father and husband more than anything. And beyond my nuclear family, my wider family, I want them to know that, I love them and I did. Even, I mean, just me talking about it, just my ancestors, just thinking about them in the unseen world, and I feel their presence and I know that they're smiling at me and supporting me and surrounding me and pushing me and uplifting me as I do this work. So that's the first and foremost, that's the biggest thing. But I think, I've made my mark as an author.
Yeah.
I've authored 6 books. Black Food is my last book. I'm no longer publishing my own books after this. And now my latest pivot is that of a publisher. And so I have my own publishing imprint, 4 Color Books under Penguin
Yeah.
Random House. Black Food was our flagship publication. And this is a new learning curve for me. I am in a place where I'm uncomfortable. I'm figuring out what it means to be a good publisher. And I'm learning a lot. And I like being in a place of discomfort. I think about, last year when I started CrossFit. And in the beginning, I was just like awkward. I didn't know how to do all these different like moves and everything. And I liked it because that gave me goals to achieve. And I
Right.
always, was striving to get better. And so in this phase for me, it's all about learning how to be a good publisher, ensuring that budding writers, people who are trying to figure out how to navigate the publishing world and be good authors, that I can mentor them. It's something that I've done throughout my career. It's just now that I have more resources and I can formally, support people who are hoping to bring their work in the world. So, but that's not my last act.
Right.
There's so many other things I want to do. I mean, the publishing is one piece. I mean, honestly, the next decade for me is really about becoming a media mogul. I
Yes.
really have a lot of designs on, just creating our own media, partnering with some institutions and production companies to do some cool stuff. But I understand the power of mass media, and I want to use that to further help shift people's habits and attitudes in politics, and just create art. I just want to make art. That is well, and on that note, after I guess my next decade after this one is I want to focus on just making art, everything from ceramics to art installations to painting. Um, Sky's the limit. I'm gonna live till I'm like 115, so I'm just like I got
Absolutely.
like another like 60 or 70 years to go, so I'm good.
Well, I have I'm gonna do a little lightning round with you, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Name three people who inspire you in the vegan space.
In the vegan space.
Yeah.
Let me think. Tracy McGurder, my
Yes.
sister, who
I
is just
love
brilliant.
her.
Yeah. So Tracy is brilliant and always pushing the envelope and doing some beautiful, beautiful work. Who else? Who else? Who else? Uh, Maybe I should look at my bookshelf.
You're supposed to have those on deck, Bryant.
I'm holding so much information, I don't even know what to do with it. Janae Claiborne, I love just her. I just love Janae. She's so dope. Last person. This is obviously not lightning. This is like turtle round. With me taking so vegan in the vegan space. I guess just I haven't been thinking a lot about vegan food these days. I've been thinking about a lot of other things. Joe Yonan. I like Joe Yonan. He's a cool cat.
So if you could go back in history and see one person and ask them a question, who would it be in the vegan space?
In the vegan space,
Mm-hmm.
probably Dick Gregory. I'd love to sit down and
Yes.
just chop it up with him and, just hear about his interesting life. I mean, he just was an interesting person beyond his food activism. So I'd love to connect with Dick Gregory.
I don't know why I thought you would say Alvenia Fulton.
I mean, yeah, but I'm gonna say Dick Gregory. I got a chance to meet Dick Gregory actually when Byron Hurt was filming his documentary film Soul Food Junkies. I
Mm-hmm.
was in DC when I was doing my interview, and immediately following mine, Dick Gregory came to be interviewed. So I got a chance to, chop it up with him very briefly, and that was such an honor.
Okay. And one last thing. Well, it probably be two last things, but what is your go-to as far as food, and what has impressed you the most on your vegan journey?
My favorite go-to food.
Like
I'd
if
just
you
say
could die on a mountain and you have to eat that, like that's what it is.
I'll say black eyed peas.
Okay.
I need my protein. I have to have a lot of protein, and I literally just I had cooked up a pot of black eyed peas the other day, and so I was like, "What am I gonna eat for lunch?" So, and then I had some Johnny cakes left over from a cooking demonstration that I did yesterday. So I reheated a couple of the Johnny cakes, and then I took the black eyed peas and I sauteed a little garlic and olive oil. I threw the black eyed peas in there, and then I had some caramelized tomato onions that I put in, and I just mixed that all up, and then I ate that with some kimchi. So
Okay.
black eyed peas. And then what was the final question? What was the other one?
What has impressed you the most on this vegan journey?
What has impressed me the most? Huh. What's impressed me the most? That's a great question. And I have yes. The thing that's most impressed me is that my oldest daughter, who's 10, over the past 2 years has, on her own accord, become a very committed vegan, like
Yes.
hardcore vegan. And not only does she, you know, embrace vegan eating, but she's very clear about all the reasons that she chooses to be a vegan, from the environmental impact of having this diet, to the obviously the ethical reasons, the
Yeah.
health reasons. And I just love the fact that she is so committed to doing her research and reading and studying so that she can be very articulate about why she's choosing to live and eat in this way. So that she impresses me every day and re-inspires me to be committed to my values, not just in around veganism, but just in life in general.
That was a great answer. And the last thing, you said your second act is going to be you are going to start, helping other people publish their books. And I saw that you have a production company. What are you producing out of that as far as, being part of your media empire?
I mean, Zenme Creative is a production company that I founded, and I primarily created it so that I have more creative control over the brand partnerships that I have. I haven't done a lot of them in the past. I'm doing more of them because just more overhead with this new publishing imprint.
Right.
But I have a very clear aesthetic. I have a very clear vision of how I want my work to show up in the world. And I have all these creative partners that I have been working with for a while, from filmmakers to food stylists to prop stylists to photographers. So when companies approach me about partnering, I'm like, cool, and I want to work with this photographer. And even in media, I mean, I feel blessed to be at a point in my career where I have more power to influence these decisions. But even like with the New York Times, I was like, okay, when you do this profile and you want to come shoot me, this is a photographer who I want
Right.
to capture me. And so that's what it started as. But really, it's going to be the umbrella company under which all of my family's projects come. My oldest daughter is a musician. She's a cellist. She's a
Wow.
pianist, and has been taking hip hop beat production for the past year. So I'm assuming at some point she'll be making music, and if she's selling her beats and doing different projects, they'll come under the umbrella. My youngest daughter, who's 7, is a brilliant visual artist. I see
Wow.
her being pretty. I don't know well known. If she wants to be famous and well known, she will be. But I definitely see her producing work that people will want to buy, and so that'll go under the umbrella. So it's really about having this umbrella for all of our projects to fall under. But there's some conversations we're having about some pretty big projects that we'll be rolling out in the next couple of years that I think will have a global impact in terms of the type of media that we're producing. And so it's exciting to know that, we have a bit of autonomy and say over how these projects will unfold.
And the last question, you've traveled all over the world. You traveled, state to state. Out of New York, Miami, LA, who do you think has the best support system in the vegan space? And if you had to choose which space you would live in to support the things that you're doing, which out of those three would you definitely, if you could do it all over again, because I know you live in Cali, if you could do it all over again, which ones would you want to be part of because you see them in a couple years, being the space? Or would what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's interesting because there's a really robust vegan community and culture in LA. And not that this is the reality across the board, but in the past, I felt like a lot of it has been kind of driven by superficiality. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I'm eating vegan because I'm trying to look fine so I can have my beach body or whatever. But regardless, I love LA. I want to have a house in Malibu at some point. I just love the coast, and yeah, like we're about to be down there in next month, I think, spending a week.
Right.
So LA is cool, and there are a lot of great options for getting good food, but more than that, like the Hollywood Farmers Market, the Santa Monica Farmers Market, just have really good produce that's available. So if you're trying to make food from scratch at home, there are all the elements there. And, they're just some great little, I mean, for my daughter, she was in heaven. There were so many cool, like there was some Mexican vegan place that we went to. I don't even remember the name of it, but I mean, the food it was stellar. And, it's like, it was a lot of like kind of fake meat products, but
Right.
for me, some of that it's fine for an occasional treat and having fun. I think people can get in trouble when their diets, because you can have a vegan diet and it could be like a horrible, like shitty
Right.
processed packaged diet, right? But so I always encourage people, think about having a whole foods plant-based diet, because just because your diet is like vegan, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily healthful. But yeah, LA is like I see us retiring in LA and just kind of coming back and forth to the Bay Area for sure.
And do you think that the vegan lifestyle will become more, I guess, commercialized?
Hell
because
yeah.
because right now, they're dabbling to see how people are receptive for different mediums, as far as, on the bigger platforms, like they'll have, a vegan host or something like that, or they'll dabble in 420, or they'll dabble in this. But do you see in the near future that they will have like major shows that's really showcasing the full gamut of the lifestyle?
Definitely. I mean, I've had a number of production companies who contacted me, and there are shows in the works right now that are focusing on veganism and vegan cooking. I think that, you know, I think there's an opportunity for people of African descent to really take the lead and kind of like help shape the way that this movement goes, because as you probably know, Black folks are the fastest growing population of vegans in
Yes.
the United
Yes, we
States.
are.
And so there's a lot of interest. Of course, there's going to be a lot of corporate interest in speaking to those markets. And I think this is an opportunity. There's an opportunity for us to really, kind of put our values forward and then not buy into the corporatization of this movement, but really thinking about how can we build a culture around plant-based eating that's centered not just on buying products, but that's centered on healthy communities, that's centered on pushing, addressing this public health crisis that we've seen in our communities, that's centered around food justice and ensuring that not only can people, make healthful like vegan food, but they have the food to the raw ingredients to access, um, so that they can actually make these home cooked plant based meals.
Absolutely.
So I'm calling on all the Black vegans out there to push back against the BS, and let's create a new reality.
Yes. That's exactly why I built my brand, because I have an actual show where I showcase all the hottest vegan spaces and trends, and we go around, go around the country, or the state, because I don't have the country budget yet, but we go around and I showcase, the different things like that. So it was very encouraging to hear that I'm on the right track as far as the things that I'm doing with my brand. So yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Chef Bryant Terry. Thank you so much for spending time with us this evening. I hope everyone really got something from this conversation, and it was inspired to really do their part in this space, because we can do a lot together. Thank you so much once again, Chef.
Thank you
Thank you.
for having me
Thank you.
on. Thank you for the work that you do, really holding it
Thank you.
down for the culture, and continued blessings and success with the movement that you're creating.
Yes, thank you so much. And we will see you again. I'll be out in LA soon, but yeah, I will definitely see you again. And whenever you come to New York, you know where to come.
Oh, you already
So
know. I'm willing. I was supposed to be coming to New York because I was supposed to go to 30 Rock to appear on the Today Show, but then they canceled in studio visits, so I had to do my thing virtually. But I can't wait to get back to the city.
yes, indeed. And we'll see you again. Thank you, everyone who came on to the live. I really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting Vegan Pop Eats. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Peace.
Bye.